Welcome to the Unchained CEO video / podcast. I never know what to call these because they're videos and podcasts. By the way, if you prefer the podcast version of this, that is at calebjones.com/podcast. And I'm on the top 12, 13 podcast platforms if you prefer the audio version. This is Unchained CEO, where we talk about how to create location-independent income through your own location-independent business. And if you want, finding a less bad country to move to, or at least setting up an international backup plan and doing all these things for very little money. I have another guest here today. The Miss Auntie Billie is here. Say hello.
Hello, Caleb. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me back.
Today, we're going to talk about when, this is one of the most common questions that I get. I don't know if you get these questions, Billie, but I get them. It's like, well, when do I outsource this? When do I set up my bookkeeping system? When do I work on my logo? When do I do my marketing? When do I? So we're going to talk about when to do certain things in your business, especially when you're getting started. And in some cases, we'll talk about if you should even fucking bother doing certain things in your business. Because sometimes a lot of you get caught on stupid shit that doesn't really matter and doesn't make you any money. So let's start with my favorite one. I'll just randomly throw these things out, and then Billie and I will just riff on these things. And maybe Billie and I will have different opinions on these things. Who knows? When should I work on my logo? What's your answer? I have my answer.
Slap something together fast, have AI generate it, or have an Upworker, a Fiverr person do it. Spend no more than 2 hours on it and do it as soon as you buy your domain name, in my opinion.
I guess I agree with that. Yeah. And you don't even, and with AI tools, you don't even need 2 hours. I've whipped up logos for my stuff like in 15 minutes. But in a world of AI, you don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Yeah. So I guess when you buy your domain name, I guess I agree with that. Here's
my thinking. When I buy my domain name, I know what my business name is. I know what the service I'm going to provide is already, because I'm not going to waste the money on a website until I know the business, the solution, how I'm going to provide it. Then I'm going to name it and buy that domain name. And it's at that point I'm going to put my brand guide together, which is just it can be a one-page document that says this is a logo. Here are variations of the logo. Here are the fonts. Here are the colors. Done. I never have to do that again for that business for the rest of my life if I don't want to.
So Billie just brought up a very good point. When you have purchased, if you're doing this correctly, and a lot of people don't, when you've purchased your domain name, you have a full understanding of everything Billie just said. What you're selling, the name of your business, and in our world, the niche you're going to sell to, because that sometimes has a direct effect on your domain name. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. So you don't just come up with a business idea and whip up a website, because a lot of guys want to get to the website because that's the fun part. Oh, websites are fun. Fun to make websites, especially if you're a nerd or you have a tech background or you're an engineer or whatever. No, that's actually something you do a little later. If you're starting from business, assuming you're starting a business from zero, website is not the first, second, third thing you do. That's a little bit down the road. You have bigger decisions to make before you fuck around with your website. And your logo is a subset, Billie is right, of your website. So there you go. Exactly. I didn't think of that aspect. You're right.
That's my thinking. When you need an identity, when your business needs an identity and a face, if you will, that's when you make it.
Right. And we've had people who made money without any of these things. Now, we don't recommend that, but it's happened where they do niche research and they make money. Go ahead. Neat. If you have examples, go ahead. I have examples from my life.
Start with your example. Caleb, how did you find me? You don't freaking remember. We don't actually know who made the introduction that brought us together, but I've never had a website, any kind of presence, any kind of logo, nothing. You have to know me to find me. You have to get a referral. I've made all of my money that way for 15 years until I met Caleb and he pushed me to be in front of the camera, to add a couple different business models. But until a year ago, I didn't have a website of any kind.
There's one. So there you go. Number two, I'll give you a different example. I'll give you like an offline example. This is more like pre-internet, not pre-internet, but like before internet was a big deal. So this is like back in the 2000s, I've done this at least once. I think I've done it 3 times. I have sold, how many figures? 5-figure consulting contracts without any letterhead, without any business card, without any logo. And they didn't give a shit. I had a website, but they didn't care. So that gives you an idea of the level of importance. We're not saying don't ever make a website. We're not saying that. What we're saying is a lot of the personality types that are attracted to my content get real excited about the engineering technical shit that is the least important aspect of your business. This goes back to people saying, learn to code. No, you don't want to learn to code.
Please don't.
I mean, before AI, my argument has always been, Billy, I don't know if you're aware of this. There's an entire country of 1 billion people called India who will code better and faster and cheaper than you. So you're going to competition against 1.3 billion people. Kind of stupid. A. B, AI is going to put you out of business in a heartbeat if you learn. So, but that was a battle cry for a long time. Learn to code. Stupidest advice ever. So again, we overdo the technical stuff. Did you have something to say? Sorry.
I wanted to add one thing, and that is you may never need a website either. You may never need a website. Now, you might need a landing page. Mm-hmm. You might need a contact form. You're going to need different kinds of funnels. You may not ever need a fancy schmancy website with workflows and automations and all these, bells and whistles. You may never need that. So I'd love for you to think about going in with the minimal tools and assets that you need, right? You want a toolbox that you can carry, is the way I like to think of it. And a website, a big overblown website might not be a tool that you can carry or that makes sense for you in your toolbox. So go with them.
My CCM company, where I sold to computer consulting companies, was 100% offline business. There was never a website. And I made decent money at that before the pandemic when I shut it down. But it never had a website, nor did anyone ask. That's another thing I get a lot is we could do a whole live stream on that, is that, well, what happens if they ask this? And every time I get asked that question by a business newbie, it's someone no one ever asks me in my, no one's ever asked me doing business. Well, what if they say this? No one's ever told me that. No one's ever asked me that question.
Well, the other thing is that if they're asking you an oddball question and they're asking you to, for bells and whistles or to jump through hoops or to show them your CV and your certifications, that is an insecure individual that you probably sure as hell don't want to work with. So even if those anomalies come up, that's okay. It's a red flag in most cases.
When I talk about, we're going a little off on a tangent here, but this is important. When I talk about how stupid college is, I was making multi-6 figures as a professional consultant, working with like hoity-toity professional companies, legal firms, capital companies, banks, things like that. Never once in my entire consulting career has anyone ever asked me, where'd you go to college? Except for one time, but I already had the business. The CEO of the company finally met me, but I already had the business. They were already paying me. So it was irrelevant. He was just curious. Other than that one time, no one has ever asked me when I tried to get their business, well, where'd you go to college? What was your GPA in college? What was your major in college? They don't ask these no one fucking cares. No. When you worry about, and I get a lot of questions from you guys about this, when you worry about things like certifications, college, Caleb, maybe I should go back to school for 4 years. Caleb, I got to get the certification. Wouldn't that help me in my business? No, that'll help you get a better job. If your goal is to get a better paying job, it certainly can help. But that's not what we talk about here at Unchained CEO is jobs. You shouldn't have a job, as I've said many times. If you have a job, that's like having cancer. You don't say, so should I go get more cancer? No, if you have cancer, your objective is get rid of the cancer as quickly as possible. Not, do I double down on the cancer? Do I get a better cancer? Maybe I should go back to school and get a better cancer. No, you get rid of your cancer. So certifications, all that garbage. No, the answer is no. Anyway, so, but yes, you don't need a website. You might need a landing page. Just be aware. And again, I want to be clear. We're not saying don't make a website, but we are saying often you don't need a website. And you could do the website fucking later once you're already making some money. And then you can circle back to your website if you want to expand your brand or something like that. So again, you need to focus on the correct things, not focus on the stuff you find is fun and interesting. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. This is kind of the shitty part about business, and maybe Billy may disagree, but often when you design a business, when you start your business, And B, in my case, when you scale your businesses, sometimes the most important shit you have to work on is the stuff you're going to hate the most. And that's the stuff you're going to want to do the least. So there are eras where I've had to work on things that were the most important thing, that the thing that I hated the most. I didn't want to do it.
Right.
And I've had to suck it up and do it. And that's how this works. Now, you don't do it forever. It's a temporary period. We have to focus on, like your niche. That's hard for a lot of people. You got to do it. And people will skip the niche and say, I just want to sell this. I have this cool idea, I'll sell this. Or marketing. A lot of nerdy types will get really into their product on their website. They have this amazing to them product. And then they don't really market. I've talked about this in my books. Because they don't want to. I don't like marketing. I'm not good at it. I'm an introvert. All these other bullshit excuses. So just be aware if you're emotionally attracted to an area that is not necessarily the area that is the most important for you at that time in your business. And the reverse is also true. Sometimes the area you're attracted to is the area you do need to focus on, but just be aware of this, especially when you're starting a business, because you have lots of different pieces to your business, your new business. You need to address all those pieces equally, even the pieces you fucking hate. So just be aware that a lot of you have a tendency to do that, and that's okay. Just be aware of it.
Well, we're also human. We like to do the sexy parts, the parts that are visible, that make us feel good, that, give us a dopamine hit, that are, an easy win. We are going to focus on those things by nature. So we're here to just kind of help you understand when you need to push some of those things off, even if you say, but I like doing it, Auntie Billie. It's only going to take me an hour. Why can't I do this? It's because we want you to focus on the little steps that will allow you to build to that. Again, it's all about the progression. That makes it easy. Because otherwise, you're spinning your tires. You're not going to get to the sale. And that's the bottom line.
And once you reach a point, Billie is at this point. Once you reach a certain point in your business evolution, you can do whatever the fuck you want and not worry about money. Billie doesn't give a shit about money, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. That's not her objective. She's in there for the dopamine, that she does what she likes. And so you will eventually, some of you will pretty quickly hit this. It depends how much money you want and your lifestyle goals and a bunch of other factors, how much taxes you're paying on it. And, if you're married, have kids, a lot of factors go into play that. But my point is, you will reach a point where you can do whatever the fuck you want. And many of you in my audience are at that point. You just kind of do it. You're making plenty of money. You kind of just do whatever the fuck you want. Great. Then do it. Great. This is why I don't write fantasy fiction novels all day long. I'm not where I want to be financially yet. Yeah. And so I'm back in the slog because I want to make a lot of money. Billie just does whatever she wants because she's at a point now financially, because she's built up, because she did the things in her businesses that maybe she didn't want to do. And she put in the hard work, or not even the hard work, the work. She put in the time and effort, and now she can do whatever the hell you want. So there is always a reward at the end of the rainbow. You just have to put in the work to get there. That's how life works. So,
well,
yes.
This brings up a really good point, Caleb. And this is the one that people ask me the most. When should you start delegating? I have a new business or a new business idea. When should I start? And I know my opinion, but I'd like to hear yours.
Depends on what you delegate.
Talk more about that.
Depends what you delegate. What?
Tell us more about that.
So first, there's two factors. This is my opinion. There's two factors. A, how much money do you have in your pocket right now when you start your business? Some people start from absolute zero and they have no money. Then you won't be able to delegate anything no matter what. You got to do it all yourself for a while until you start making money, and then you can delegate, and it depends what you delegate. B, if you have money, then there are some things you can delegate right off the bat. For example, if you do need a website or landing pages or things like that, you can delegate that immediately. We have people in the Business Builder who do that sometimes. Mm-hmm. You can whip out $1,000, maybe not even that, and pay a guy to do it in a few days, and it's there. Great, that's fine. If you have the money, that's fine. So it depends on how much money you're having to start with, and it depends on what you delegate when. So my thing is, the first thing you should delegate in your business is the grunt work / the technical work, especially work that you don't like or not good at. So if you are a nerd, and there are a lot of you, and I'm one of them, there's Star Wars shit right over there because I'm a nerd. So if you're a nerd, that means you probably don't like customer service and email and bookkeeping, but you probably love fucking with your website. Great. Okay. So now eventually you're going to have to delegate fucking with your website. But right now, the first thing you delegate would be things like your email, customer service, the administrative stuff, the administrative financial stuff, the stuff you don't like. So that's the first thing you delegate to take more time off your plate so you can put it into things that will actually scale your business. And you do that as soon as you can afford it. And as soon as you can afford it can mean either A, at the very beginning, if you want, or B, once you're making, $2,000 a month or something where it makes sense to do that.
So
That's my answer for when you first start delegating.
So my answer is really similar to yours. The one thing that I would add is if there's a function of the service that you're providing that you don't want to do, and you know this out of the gate, I think it's fair to delegate as soon as you get your first contract in your hand. So as soon as that first is in your hand, go for it. You don't have to be waiting to make a routine amount to bring someone in to help you. Just make sure you understand what the project costs are by enrolling that help. What are the charges that you'll incur, and make sure that you're still keeping a healthy profit margin. But you can do it from day one with that very first client if you want to.
Yeah. Depending on the contract and depending on your margins and things like that. The answer is yes. Yeah. The way to scale quickly is to do the things that scale. And you can't do those things if you're doing all the bullshit work because you haven't delegated yet. So you want to delegate as quickly as possible. It's not just an emotional thing. It's also an economic decision. Mm-hmm. There's the emotional side. I hate doing this. And there's the economic side. If I did 10 hours less of this or 17 hours less of that, about a year and a half ago, I made some changes where I freed up 17 hours a week of work for me. It was huge.
Isn't that amazing?
Awesome. So now I can do things that I wasn't able to do before because I was doing these 17 hours of things that should have been delegated. So, and I didn't like doing a lot of them. And some of them I did. And here's something else. Just because this is another big thing. A lot of you are very smart. A lot of you have a lot of skills. Some of you can do this stuff pretty well. The example I've given, this is not true anymore. This is not true. Definitely not true now. Now, especially since I moved out of the country, I'm doing 5 flags. But 15 plus years ago, and I said this 15 plus years ago, I had the ability to prepare my own tax return because I'd read a bunch of books on taxes and talked to a bunch of accountants and a bunch of legal. I could have done it. So I could have stupidly said, I'm going to save money on paying accountants $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever I was paying. And I'm just going to do my own tax returns. And what would have happened is it would have taken me quadruple the time and I would have made a bunch of mistakes, but I would have saved $1,000. Stupid. I would have saved $1,000.
Right. You would have also, not only that, you open your company to risk. That magnifies the stupidity of that decision.
Right. What happened to make a mistake? And I got to deal with an IRS audit because I was an idiot because I wanted to save $1,000.
Right. And then I have that failure work too of weeks and months of disruption of preparing documents and pulling things for the IRS. Right. These little decisions can snowball so rapidly. So there's a really interesting comment or question in the comments from Peter Hurry. What about delegating the main part of your service right away because you don't know how to do it and you are good at sales and outreach? Go for it, babes. That's my answer. Go for it.
If you have money, if you have the money, go for it. Do it right now. Yes.
If you can afford it.
That's why I said earlier, if you have the money, and a lot of you do, a lot of you don't, some of you do, a lot of you do. If you've got the money to whip out $1,000, $1,000 a month or whatever it's going to cost you, it's shockingly cheap. It might be 500. This could be $250 a month for some things. Okay. You have the money to do it and you don't know how to do it or you think you'd suck at it. Yeah. Delegate it right now.
You don't want to do it. That's a legitimate reason also. I know this is a great business. I don't freaking want to spend my days doing this, but there's a plenitude of people I can hire them. Once you get that first contract, once you can afford it, once it makes sense in your business, go for it. You don't need to know how to do the services that you sell.
This is an entirely different topic, but let's touch on that really quick. When I talk to people about Business Builder who are like on the fence about it or things like that, one of the excuses they give is, well, wait a second. If I need a bunch of subcontractors to initiate my service or my consulting, I don't have any money to pay them. Okay, that's not how it works. Here's the model. This is the model we teach. You get the client first. So let me give you the entire structure. You go on Upwork before you get any clients and you hire, in quotes, the subcontractors you need to do the service you need to do for your niche if you don't know how to do it. And many times people don't, and that's fine. If you know how to do it, great, do it yourself. If you don't know how to do it, or you don't know half of it, you go on Upwork and you line up the 1 or 2 subcontractors you need. Almost always this will be either admin people or technical people, almost always, both of whom are super cheap. Admin and technical work is the cheapest work you can outsource, okay? So you line them up. You don't pay them. You say, stand by, get ready. You're hired. I'm going to work with you. And I would, in my world, you hire another person as a backup and say, this person doesn't work out, I'm hiring you. Anyway, so you have that person stand by. I'll get back to you ASAP. Then you're marketing while you're doing all this. You get the client contract, what Billie said. You get paid by the client. Then you pay your contractor and bring your contractor in. That's how this works. So it costs you no money out of pocket. I have done this hundreds of times in several different companies where I got paid first. Then I found the subcontractor, paid him or her, took the profit, made sure the customer is happy. I'm golden. So this doesn't cost you any money out of pocket when you do what I call subcontract work, when you're delegating the work that you're actually performing for the client, which is different than delegating stuff you're doing in your own business. Both, you need both levels. So that's really important. It doesn't cost you any money. You can do this for free. And I've seen weird examples of people who do this like at scale. They they'll get like $1 million contract with no help. They'll get like $1 million or $2 million or $3 million contract to go install a bunch of servers or something in a building or something. They get the contract, then they go, oh my God, they run out and get the subcontractors and get the people as fast as they can, and they get the stuff installed. It's fine. I mean, it's a little crazy. I would do it my model first. Yeah.
I've done it that way on some big projects with some big clients. And we did get a $400,000 contract to help with project manage the remodel of a facility, right? We're just the PM team, essentially. Huge contract, but I only had a couple of people on the roster. So I did exactly that. Went out and found a few really amazing people, hired 20% extra, and off we went. And the people who fell by the wayside fell by the wayside. That's all. That's it. No repercussions.
I've used this example. That's a great example. I've used this example before on a small scale. I've used this example many times, so I'm so proud of it. But I've done this hundreds of other times with bigger monetary amounts. But this gives you an example because this all happens so fast. True story. When I was a computer consultant, I was working with a customer, a client company, and they had a problem with their database system. And they were the owner of the business. I was talking to him in his office when he was bitching and moaning about how this database system is like, oh God, we need to do this and this, and it doesn't. So I went to this is the United States. I went to these guys, these database programmers in the city we were in the United States, and they want to, they're going to charge me $6,000. No, not $6,000. Something like $3,000. They said it'll take 6 weeks. Oh, and this is just. And he was bitching when I said, "What do you need done?" Now, I'm not a database programmer. I don't know how to program databases. I know enough to communicate with programmers and coders, but I don't have any database programming skills. It was a Microsoft Access database, I think. This is a long time ago.
Ooh,
anyway,
old
school. Yeah, this is on a server, and it's a big company. Anyway, so I said, "What do you want it to do exactly?" He goes, "Well, he showed me." And he showed me, and I took down the notes. He went to that. I said, "All right, cool. Let me take a look at this. I no promises. Let me take a look." This was a Friday. That evening I went on what was back then called Elance. Now it's Upwork because Upwork bought them all, or Freelancer, but it was called elance.com. It's long gone. It's been absorbed. And I said, hey, I have this job for this Access database. I need these changes. And a bunch of people, I did that night. I woke up the next morning. A bunch of people had bid on it. There was one guy I found in Bangladesh. He wanted $150 to do this. And I hired him. $150, okay? Because he's Bangladesh. It's called geo arbitrage.
Yep.
And I hired him on the Saturday. I gave him access to that part of the server because I had administrative access to the server because I was their computer guy, their main computer network guy. I gave him access just to that area, so not other parts of the server. I said, go ahead and do it. I backed up the database just in case he fucked it up, okay? He went ahead and did it. He did it in 48 hours, okay? Monday morning, I called up the lead woman who was in charge of that area in the company. And I said, hey, can you go in and run this report and do this and this and see if it works this way? And she's like, okay. She goes, oh my God. Yeah, it works. I said, does it work exactly the way that Brad wanted? She's like, well, let me check this. Oh, yeah. She goes, wait, let me check one more thing. She's like, yeah, this is exact. Oh my God, this is great. I'm like, cool. So then I called Brad, the owner, and I said, you know that thing that was going to cost you $3,000 and take you 6 weeks? Yeah, it's done. He's like, what? Yeah, it's done. I'm going to send you a bill for $500. He was so happy this was done. In 3 days, he would have paid me double. He paid me $500. I paid my Bangladeshi guy $150, and I got paid whatever the difference is, $350 for about 45 minutes of my work, maybe an hour. And this was like 20 years ago, so that was a lot of money back then. So
And
that's
it
the kind of
wasn't
thing you do.
easy. You couldn't find the resources as easily back then either.
Yeah, well, this was 10 times harder 20 years ago. I still was able to do it. So you don't have to worry about, well, what if I don't know how to do it? You don't have to know how to do it. You just follow the model where you hire the people first. Hire means not pay. I didn't say pay the people. I said hire them, get them secured, ready to go. And then or if you want to fly by the seat of your pants, you can do what I did. And what Billie and I have done a few times.
What I often do because I like it.
Yeah,
but you don't have to work that way.
You could get the client and then go, okay, good. And if it's a project that takes 45 days, you have a little time to do this, not much. Then you hop on Upwork and go, oh my God, I need somebody. You can do that too if you want. A little more disorganized, but hey, I've done it. Works. It's fine.
Both of them work. Do it either way, but do it. Don't let money hold you back, because you can get to the money. You can and bring in that help when you're ready. So that leads me to another question. And this is a place where you and I are slightly at odds. So I think it's very fun to talk about. When should you register your business as a legal entity?
You answer that first, and then I'll answer mine. We do disagree slightly. We disagree. We don't disagree strongly, but we do disagree slightly. Go ahead. Give me your answer.
We disagree slightly, but it always makes life more fun. So in my mind, once you have figured out your niche, you know what services what problems they have, you know how you're going to solve it. You have bought figured out your business name. You're buying that domain name. That's the time to register your business in your state or your country. It doesn't have to be your state or country. That's up to you, but I would get that legal stuff out of the way immediately with the most simple structure that you can create. In the United States, that's an LLC, limited liability corporation. In the UK, Canada, it's an LTD, but it is a single owner. We are not doing any corporate elections. We're not doing any S Corp elections until we start making about $100,000 a year. So I'm going to file that super simple LLC and get my federal tax number. Doing both of those tasks takes about half an hour in total if you've never done it before. And I'm going to do that at the same time that I'm registering my domain.
How much is that going to cost for the typical American?
If you do it yourself, less than $200 in most states. It varies.
If you pay a service, is it like $400 or $500 right now?
Correct.
What is that?
Yeah. It can be anywhere between $300 and $600 if you use a firm, depending again on the state. I would personally, you guys know I like South Dakota quite a lot because of their income tax, inheritance, etc. structures that are very favorable for nomads particularly. But choose another low or income tax free state or country. But get it done right away. Because otherwise, you're just going to have to go back and do it at some point. It's going to be hanging over your head like the sword of Damocles from mythology. So the one time you don't have your swords, Caleb. And you don't need that hanging over your head. Just get it done right. It takes very little time, very little effort. If you don't want to do it yourself, reach out to myself or another firm that will do it for you. Just get it done.
I don't disagree if you do all that stuff. I think that's fine. What I generally recommend is slightly different, is that start making money. But Billie, it makes a good point. It may only take you half an hour. Well, half an hour, I don't know. It might take you an hour, but okay, fine. It takes you an hour.
Even if you're really dumb and
some people are dumb about it. What if you're really dumb about this stuff? And you're like,
so
what the
if
hell
you're
is,
really dumb, if you're
what's
really
an
dumb,
EIN number? And a lot of people don't know these things.
If you're really dumb, it'll take half an hour, especially because there are many, many tutorials online. And most of the state and different governmental websites have very clear instructions and tutorials. It's not like doing your taxes, guys. This is like, what do you want the name of your business to be? Have you looked online to make sure that that doesn't exist? Give us a backup name just in case. What's your address? What's your name?
Yeah.
What's your social security or tax identification number? Right? So how do we tie this to an individual? And how do we contact you? That's about it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, the advice I've given in the past is make some money and then incorporate. And the reason I've said that, I'm thinking about this. The reason I've said that in the past is because so many morons, I shouldn't say that. So many people start a business incorrectly because they don't follow the models that we teach here at Unchained CEO. Niche, find out what the problem is, offer consulting or service. Okay. Now, if you go through that process, your business is probably going to make money. But most people just start a business. And so if you just start a business and you whip up an LLC, that LLC will just sit there probably forever because you're probably not going to make any money on it. Whereas if you didn't have the LLC and you fucked up, then you tried something else and you didn't have an LLC and you fucked up. Then you tried the third business and then that business worked. Well, then you do the LLC. So that's kind of the framework when I used to give that advice. Under our models, Billie is 100% accurate. I think I've officially changed my opinion about this. If you're doing what Billie and I recommend, what we talk about here on Unchained CEO, what we talk about in 9-Day Business Builder, where you find a narrow niche, a B2B. We talked about this last time. Yes. A B2B, narrow niche. You ask the niche what you don't know what you're selling yet. You haven't picked what you're selling yet. You don't come up with a cool thing to sell. Stop it. You ask the niche what their biggest problem is. You have several people, at least 5 or more, tell you the same problem. Then you develop a coaching or service, nothing else, not SaaS, not drop shipping, not an ebook, not a course, none of that other stuff. Those things are fine for your second business, not now.
I believe that you mean consulting
or service.
Or service, not coaching.
Sorry, I said coaching.
Individual human.
I said coaching. I'm sorry, that's wrong. Consulting,
yes,
or a service. That's it. Those are really high margin that directly addresses the problem they already told you they have, and you're doing all that. Yes, start your LLC. Billie is absolutely right about that. Or if you're in the UK, the LTD or whatever if you're not in America, whatever your equivalent is. Yes.
Right. Now, if you're dreaming, if you're like, oh, I've always wanted to have an auto body shop and I'm just going to make a logo and a website and register an LLC, we're going to tell you that you're an idiot. Because you haven't done any validation. You don't have a business plan.
Right.
You don't like those kinds of businesses.
Precisely.
But even if you're doing an online store, don't care. You haven't validated that anyone needs, that there's a problem that you're solving.
That's the big problem.
You're skipping that part of finding out what people need and want, and you're just kind of putting your idea out there, then don't waste your money and time creating your business because it's probably not going to go anywhere.
That is the number one problem of people who start their own business, what Billie just said. And the number one thing we fight in Business Builder, because people are wired this way. And this is, you're coming by this problem naturally because that's just how we're wired by society. Come up with a cool business idea and then sell it. If you build a better mousetrap, I mean, there's all these sayings and societal programming around, come up with a cool idea and then you'll sell it, make a lot of money. That's not how this works. There are rare and usual exceptions. People are lucky. Fine. But yes, what Billie just said is the problem. Coming up with an idea, we could do a whole live stream on that. When you come up with an idea that you think is cool, here's the 2 scenarios that I've seen the most of. And Billie, tell me if you disagree. An idea that you came out of your brain because you saw some cool shit and you came up with this cool idea, or you talk to one guy. You talk to the CEO who owns this company and he says, I really want this. You go, aha, business idea. I talked to this one guy who said, da-da-da-da. I've had comments on my channel. Caleb, I talked to this one guy, or in some cases 2 guys. I talked to one guy who said, da-da-da. What if I start a business? No, that's not niche validation.
Unless the guy says to you, I'm so happy that we're on the phone, Caleb Jones. I'm going to throw money at you right now to solve that problem. Fine.
Take the money, but that's still not a business.
Nope. One
guy paying you for one problem is not a business. It's money. Take the money. That has happened. That can happen in real life, in Business Builder. Yeah.
Yeah. Take the opportunity, take the money, but that still doesn't make it business.
That's not a business.
It has to be.
That may be the one and only client you ever get in the rest of your life for that idea because you had a weirdo or you had a something. That's why we talk about you identify a narrow niche, and that's hard enough already because most of the ideas you give me for niches are not niches. They're gigantic, broad industries or sectors. That's not a niche. So you come up with a narrow niche that really is a niche. And then you ask them what their problem is, and then you look for not one person or 2 people who say something, because we get that in Business Builder too, and I've got that when I do coaching and when I just help out friends. Yeah. Okay, Caleb, so I talked to this, you wanted me to call 10 people. Okay, so I talked to this one guy and he said, and then they want to talk for 5 minutes about what this one guy said. And I interrupt them and say, I don't care what one guy said. Did someone else say this? No, just this one guy. Okay, but Caleb, he said these 4 things. I don't care what one guy said. You don't care? No, I don't care at all. You want to hear from 5 different people, minimum, the same problem. No, so if you talk to 3 different people, okay, I talked to 3 people. So the first guy said da 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 da. The second guy just said da 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 da. I don't care what the second guy said or the third guy said. All I care about, are you hearing consensus from lots of people? And if the answer is no, we don't give a fuck yet what these people are saying. Make a note of what they're saying so you can track it and compare it to the other results. Then when you get consensus from a narrow niche, now you know what to sell them. And that's when you make the decision on what to sell. But the problem is you are wired to come up with the idea before you do any of that shit. I'm going to come up with this cool idea because I think it's cool. Or I talked to one guy who thought it was a cool thing, so I'm going to start a business. That's not how you start a business unless you are very lucky. And as I've been saying for 15 years of my content, you cannot emulate luck. Luck is not a system. You can't bet on luck. I'm sorry. Or else you could take all your money and go in the slots machines in Vegas. And is that a business? No. You're doing the exact same thing when you come up with an idea that you think is cool. You talk to one guy. You're rolling the dice at the craps table, like my brother Josh. I have a son Josh and a brother Josh. And that's funny. I have a brother Josh, and he just loses all his money. Oh, that sucks. And that's what most new business owners do. You cannot do that if you want to make money very quickly in a sustainable business that is high margin, low work, and location dependent. Period. And it's a real problem. And again, I don't get mad at people about this because that's how society's trained you to think. Come up with an idea. It's not. And Billie, why don't you talk about this? When people want to follow their passion. You want to talk about that? Because that's just as bad. Oh, but I have this passion for this bullshit that no one will buy. But you want to talk about that? That'd be great.
So I followed my passion for about, more than 15 years until I broke my back. And for those of you who don't know, I was a professional equestrian. I have been an apprentice. We call them working students in the parlance with 2 different Olympic equestrians for a total of 4 years. I have a bunch of national titles, right? Fairly reasonably accomplished. Not the greatest. Was never going to be close to an Olympian myself, but I've done some shit. Ask me now how you make a small fortune with horses. And I will tell you that the answer to that is that you must begin with a large fortune.
Yeah.
It genuinely doesn't really matter how good you are as a rider, as a trainer to a lesser extent. It doesn't really matter. You're not where the money goes, sweethearts. It is cash poor for the people in these blue collar, which is what I was. You're the help when you're the trainer or the person who's riding the horse at a show. You are considered the blue collar help. There's no money in that shit. I did it for passion until I broke my back and then had to completely shift everything I did.
You're like, damn, I have to make money now. That's
damn money. I didn't have the money to have the luxury I do now where I can do whatever I want. I was really, really in a horrible situation. Did I put myself there? Absolutely. But it was horrible, and I would never want anyone else to follow their passion to the poorhouse. And that's usually what happens when people follow their passion. Because again, we are looking at the business from a very egocentric place. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to give. This is what I am good at.
Right. Exactly. And that's not how this works.
Clients don't care.
No one cares.
Clients don't care. And it's a hard truth, especially to say as a loving and caring business auntie, your clients don't care. What they care about is what solution can you provide for them? What problems can you solve? Not what you want to give them. They just don't care. When people are searching for something online, when I'm looking for a chiropractor, I know what I need. I know what I want. I want them to meet me there. I don't want them to meet me and say, no, I'm going to do something completely different. I want to try to change your mind. I'm going to pull you in a different direction because it's not what I want. I'm going to ignore them.
Yeah. We call that leading the witness.
Exactly. Focus on the people who are providing what I need and what I want, and that can solve my problem. So we can't come to this from a place of ego, which is why the approach of finding a niche, narrow, talking to actual human beings in that niche to find out what the problems, the challenges, the things that waste their time, the things that drive them crazy. We find out what those things are and we craft a solution. We build our business around that. And then once that business is up and running and we're acting like CEOs, we're going to start delegating as soon as we can the various functions. Your second business can and should
There
be
you
your
go.
passion business,
Thank you.
but
That's
it should
Your
never.
second business.
And I'm going to repeat this because I lost everything I owned. This is a really tough thing that we don't talk about. I literally lost everything I owned by being a dumbass who followed my passion directly to the poorhouse. It doesn't happen that every person, breaks their back and can't do their job, but there are always mitigating circumstances. And when you tie that to your passion, you tie it to your identity. And you really can fuck yourself up. You can really fuck up your life, the life of the people around you, and lose things that you can't afford to lose. Why would you set yourself up for that failure? Learn from people like me who did that dumb thing, and please don't replicate it. Do the thing that brings you a solid, stable income. Once
And
you have
set you
that
free.
stabilized and you are free, please go after your passion.
Get free.
But
Then go your passion.
As your business auntie, I will personally smack you right across the face, theoretically or hypothetically, if I hear that your first business is a passion business, because I don't want you to set yourselves up for any kind of desperation or failure. Business is hard. Business for many people is tricky enough. Make it as simple as possible for yourself. Put your passion aside, put your ego aside, give people what they need, and then come back.
And this goes back to, I'll double down on this and add another layer to this. This goes back to Unchained CEO Alpha 2.0 Freedom Fortress stuff. Most of you live in a prison right now. You have a goddamn 9-to-5 job that you can't control. You have no freedom of your time. Your location dependent. You're chained to a country that's going down the tubes and you can't leave. Shouldn't you fix that problem first before you follow your fucking passion? That's what I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. So get free first. Disconnect yourself with the handcuffs at the desk or the remote computer for you that have remote jobs or hybrid jobs. Disconnect from that. Get location dependent. If you want to leave the country, please do. If you want to set up an international backup plan, do that. Get stable and get above water. Get rid of the cancer, which is your 9-to-5 job. There's another cancer, which is your collapsing Western country you're still sticking around with and living with and hoping Trump will fix everything or whatever a non-American equivalent you've got. You're stick to that. Get rid of that shit. Get the money, get the lifestyle, get okay. Then follow your passion. And the vast, vast majority of you, I know my analytics, the vast, vast majority of you are much younger than Billie and myself. Mm-hmm. You got plenty of fucking time.
Yes.
To follow your passion. I mean, Jesus, if you were 35, you know how much time you have left with the amount of years you're going to live, with the life expectancy and the Ray Kurzweil stuff. And even if you are our age, even if you're in your 40s or 50s, you got a lot of time. Dude, I'm in my prime. I'm about to 53. I got plenty of time to do all kinds of shit. And I haven't followed my passion yet, my 100% passion. There are parts of what I do that I really enjoy, obviously. Because people said, well, you started Alpha 2.0. I was already making multi-six figures as a business consultant. Was that my passion? No. So that was my second business. And even that wasn't my 100% passion. I want to write fiction or write books, but fiction books.
You mean writing dental marketing campaigns and reactivation wasn't your passion, Caleb?
Right. Exactly. That's my point. And I could do the passion stuff now. I don't want to. I have bigger goals. I've talked about it in my other content.
Yeah, but I do. This is another example of that. Now that, and we don't tell you these stories. Somebody wrote in the comments, like, sorry to hear about your story. Glad you landed on your feet through effort. We don't tell you this I appreciate that, but we don't tell you this for applause or for a pat on the back. It's because we don't want you guys to do the same stupid shit.
Right.
Learn from our aged and decrepit selves, not decrepit.
Right.
Because inside I still feel like I'm about 11 years old and I still have a lot of fun.
Me too. I feel like I'm 15. That's the part. That's why I injure myself. But yes, that's
same.
Yeah.
But we find different passions as we go through our life. This is true. So some of your passions might change. My passion is still for having an adventure and a great time. So I've circled around now that the consulting and implementation services are like really rock solid. We've been making multi six figures for years. Now we've added the events in, which are the things that are my passion. We've
Right.
added a new passion back into the roster.
But that wasn't the first thing she did.
No.
She did that from a position of strength, which is what you need to do. So you can follow your passion. You do it second. You do it from, it's phase 2. I talk about life phases and things like that. Phase 1 is not following your passion. I'm sorry. It's not, even if you're good at it. Well, Caleb, I'm a really good singer. No one said you're a bad singer. I said you're not going to make any money doing that.
It's hard to make
do that
money.
as your second business, for fuck's sake, or comic book artist, or whatever thing you are. Fine. All these things that don't make shit for money. Let's talk about Business Builder really quick, and then we'll answer your questions. I'm just going to go through this really fast because I think most of you already kind of know what this is. I'm going to cover the bonuses because we're doing a special thing called Freedom Week this week. Hang on a second. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, you only told me some of these details. This will be cool.
That's right. Okay.
Caleb and Jeff, the accountability coach extraordinaire, have been plotting this for weeks.
Yes, that's correct. That's right. I'm not going to go through what Business Builder is. I'm just going to summarize it really quick. I'm going to get to the bonuses that are special just right now, just for this week. We will work with you for 4 months, and we guarantee you'll be making real money in 90 days, starting from zero with no business experience, through multiple live sessions per week, plus a 24/7 accountability coach, plus a bunch of videos, plus a bunch of courses. You get all this stuff for 4 months working with us, and we guarantee you'll be making money in 90 days. And if you don't, we will work with you forever until you do. You're seeing the list on the screen of everything we offer. I'm not going to go through all that right now because I think a lot of you know this. If you don't know this, go to 90daybizbuilder.com right now, and it lays all this stuff out. Now, those of you on my Alpha 2.0 list, the SMIC Vault thing is over with. So now, and those of you who are in the Unchained CEO already, we already talked about this last week. 90-Day Business Builder is now open for enrollment right now. Your deadline is Monday, a week from today, Monday, midnight EST. That's not the deadline to schedule a call, because you have to schedule a call to join us, okay? That's not the deadline to schedule a call. That's the deadline to sign up. You need to schedule the call well before then. 90daybizbuilder.com, where you do that. And we'll answer all your questions, get all your concerns done, and give you the payment options and all those things, okay? If you sign up before March 31st, only if you sign up for this program ever later, you don't get these things. This is only for the next week. This is Freedom Week. We're celebrating freedom because it's March.
Cool.
I just threw that out there, whatever the fuck that is. So first 3 people, we just changed this to the first 5 people. So this should say first 5 people. The first 5 people who sign up this week, do we already have people? I don't remember if we already have people. We already have people. We're going to do a business launch session with me. Billie, you're also invited if you want to do it.
Cool.
Just for the first 5 people who sign up before you begin the actual program, or like maybe in the first week of the curriculum, because the curriculum starts on April 5th. Is that right? April 5th. Right. So the way it works is you have to sign up by Monday the 31st. You have a week because you have initial assignments. Then you actually start the program on April 5th. Okay. The first 5 people who sign up, we're doing a special launch just with me and those people, and that's it. Cool. Just the first 5. I did 3, and I went, well, 3, that's gonna be a pretty small group. Let's make it 5. So I'll make it 5. First 5 people who sign up. That means if there's already people signed up, I don't remember if there is or not, because I've been focusing on the other promo this weekend. That means we're down to less than 5 people. After the first 5, you don't get this. Sorry. Number 2, Billie, I'll have you talk about this. So this is Residency Roundtable. This is a bi-weekly Zoom meeting. And you want to talk about that, Billie?
Yep. It is. Right now we're hosting it Sundays, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. And it is about an hour to 2 hours of literally open Q&A about Paraguay or Mexico. Right now we've been focusing on Paraguay, but certainly there's room to talk about Mexico and a lot of the changes that we've been experiencing, and some of the challenges with getting residency there right now, especially as Americans. These are informal calls that have different guests, and basically it's a live Q&A. So we might have somebody who's a medical professional down in Paraguay, a real estate agent, and a group of different expats, people who've traveled there, and people who've wanted to, who want to go there and are thinking about going. So it's a pretty good group. They are twice a month. And this is, as Caleb says, this is in addition to all of the other training. This is just a bonus.
This is on top of all the other training. You only get this if you sign up this week. And this is lifetime. Correct, Billie?
Correct.
So this is not 4 months. The Residency Roundtable, if you sign up this week, you'll get lifetime access to this for the rest of your life. Pretty cool. Okay, cool. I was clicking the wrong thing. Next one. I have come up with some new videos, not part of anything else, which is an update to Travel Ace. And this is the travel hacks that I've figured out in the last few years. Updates for travel to certain countries, tips and tricks, new stuff, updated stuff that I've used, some of which I learned from Billie, actually. And you know what? I could even maybe have Billie do a 10-minute video and add it to that.
We should. That would be
All right.
great.
I might have you do that. I might bug you to do that this week. These are extra videos. They're the recorded videos that you get as a bonus. Travel Ace Advanced, because there's another course I have called Travel Ace. You get that for free if you sign up this week before March 31st. Then, last thing, choose your own adventure bonus. So if you sign up by March 31st, if you sign up for the program, even if you make payments, that's fine. You can pick one of these, one of these 3 bonuses, and you choose which one you want. You don't get this if you don't sign up, if you sign up after March 31st. One is a 30-minute personalized business feedback session with Billie, where you go through, and you can use this anytime in the 4 months. So once you kind of have an idea of what you're doing, you can lay it out for her, and she'll give you feedback on this. That's what she does best. Okay? Or we give you a website template where you just edit the template. We just give it to you, and you just edit the colors, the text, and things like that. We just give that to you for free. Or you don't get all 3 of these. You got to pick one. Or you get a 15-minute consultation with me. And the focus of that is sales and marketing. That's kind of the so you would do that probably in month 3 or 4. You do that later on, okay? Because again, you have to know what you're going to sell. So these are all the bonuses you get for free if you sign up by March 31st. That is this Monday, midnight EST. 90-day bizbuilder.com. Where is my link? Hang on. Talk with the guarantee. Yeah. Right there. There we go. Cool. All right. So you get all that. You don't get those bonuses if you sign up after March 31st. You can still sign up, kind of, but you don't get those bonuses. You have to wait. Cool. Okay.
Very cool.
Let me go to our questions. Hang on. Caleb, I have a lead magnet. Any tips on not having it sent to promotions or, God forbid, the spam box? My email guys aren't on the call. I couldn't tell you. There are things you can do, and I don't remember what they are. So I don't remember. Go ahead.
My answer to that is that you should go over to bosscooperative.com and join the Marketing Mavens group or Founder Sanctum, where we have live coaching sessions with marketing team multiple times a week.
Right. There are ways to do that, and I don't remember what they are.
It is I think that's too much of a deep dive for the end session, the end of an unrelated session. We can do that on another call or another video with some of the guys. But in the meantime, if you're interested, there are definitely different ways to dive in. And Marketing Mavens or Founder Sanctum will probably be a good fit.
When selling services, do you recommend first selling a tripwire service for something cheap like $100 and selling stuff for $1,500 plus? No. Absolutely. Now, if you're selling courses online, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a consulting practice or a service company. In that case, no. You sell based on the value that you're rendering, and you can sell for a lot more than $1,500 in many cases because you're addressing a problem that they have. Now, if you're coming up with your own dumb idea, then sure, try it. I wouldn't do that, though. But yeah. Hi, Keel. I got my Mexican residency after almost giving up and overthinking it. Yeah, my audience does a lot of that. Yeah. Now I have to fly to Mexico and finish the process there. It could take several months. I plan on going in August. With that said, they're going to check my income to see if I can support myself. I'm working the Alpha 2 business on the side. I want to quit soon. Do I quit after I get my full residency, even though I'm able to travel to Mexico because I'm trying to leave my job ASAP? Or do I quit the week before I go? And again, am I overthinking it? Okay, well, Billie, correct me if I'm wrong. They just look at checking account statements, or they can, right? They don't need to look at pay stubs.
Well, I mean, kind of. So the question is, how much do you make? If you quit your job now, are you making enough to be well over that threshold?
Let's assume the answer is no.
Then
I
keep
think
your
you'd have
job
no
until
income.
you get. I would keep the job until you get that nailed down.
Okay.
Even if you have to take unpaid leave, I would keep that job so you can show the steady income stream.
So
Otherwise,
he's asking if he should quit the week before he goes. Should he not
No.
even quit and take a leave?
Don't
Oh, so
even quit.
you heard Billy, who knows this stuff. Then don't even quit. Take a vacation.
Yep,
Go
take a
down
leave of absence, or this is a really great time to ask, just start the conversation about transitioning to freelance.
Yeah.
You're going to save a lot of money, company XYZ, on Social Security, on unemployment, and other taxes that you have to pay. You're also going to save on having to pay for benefits for me. So let's transition this to a 1099 role where I'm a freelancer. Even if I'm making 500, 20% less a month, it's worth it at that point. But usually, because you're going to cost them less as an employee, they're going to be happy to pay you the same amount. So that's when I would start having that conversation now.
Yeah.
But worst case scenario, I would take a leave or a vacation for that trip to Mexico. Make sure you have your butt covered.
And then make sure that you do not quit until you have the residency card in your hand, because on that second trip, that's when you get the card, and you got to hang around the immigration office like all fucking day because it takes forever. But when they hand you that laminated card, you're done, baby. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You can quit, but wait till what she's saying is wait till you have that card in your hand, which I would. That's actually
exactly.
Good
and usually, but you did say something there about it taking a couple of months or a month or a couple of months. I'm not sure where you're hearing that. I've never experienced it taking more than a couple of weeks. So make sure you talk to your legal team to find out why they're telling you that you'd need that much time.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, Caleb handed over all of his residency programs, because we've been working on them together, to myself and the team over at Boss Cooperative. So if you want help with residency, check us out over there.
Is it bosscooperative.com?
I'm sorry, it is www.bosscooperative.com.
So there's 2 O's in cooperative. Learn how to spell, guys. Yes. Yeah. All the residency events are now under Billie's company because she does them better than I do. All right. Are there any of your books translated into other languages, specifically to Spanish? No. There is one guy who has the contract to translate The Unchained Man to Spanish, but I have no idea where he is on that or if it's ever going to happen. But the short answer to that question is no. It's actually a good thing that some things move the needle in business are things that aren't fun. Niching eliminates competition, and we lose more from others if I avoid the unsexy work. Correct. And the thing I talk about is the lazy people stay out of the competition pool. So as I say in my other channel, more for us. So great. Fine. Okay, we already answered that question. How do you develop SOPs if you've delegated the task from the start? It was outside your skill set. Can't count on the delegated person as they are essentially facilitating their replacement. I haven't answered that question, but Billy, you should answer that.
My
you
answer
understand what
to
he's
that
saying?
is, you damn well count on the delegated person. Of course you count on the delegated person. That's the first part of their job, is to make the SOPs. And what I have them do is just make a Loom video. Something that's going to do a screen capture where they can go clickety-clack and go through the different steps of whatever process they're doing. And we record that on screen. And then they give it to me or someone else in the company to test it to see if it works. Can I do that thing?
What if you can't test it, is what he's saying. What if it's highly technical and you don't even know how to test it?
Then you hire somebody else to test it.
Okay. Yeah,
it's
that's my answer.
I think a lot of us, again, overthink this and we get worried. We worry. And that kind of worry comes from insecurity.
Right.
So to appease your insecurity, let's have it peer reviewed. Hire 2 or 3 people you can hire them simply for the purpose of reviewing a specific SOP, or keeping your SOP library up to date, or double checking other people's work. There are many, many different ways you could address that, but please don't let the fear limit your willingness to delegate and outsource.
Correct. You're going to have, by the way, we didn't address this, but your biggest challenge to delegating is your own fears. Well, what if they do it wrong? Well, what if they don't do what I tell them? Well, what if they fuck me when I make the SOP and I don't know that? Well, what if this? What if they go on my Facebook and they put a bunch of porn on it? And what if this? What if they steal my passwords? What if they steal my money? Okay. This is almost 2% rule stuff unless you're a total moron. You don't have to worry about stuff. You just do it. And I've said this many times. Have I had people I've had a few companies in my life. Have I had people on my team make mistakes? Yes. Have I had people on my team make forward-facing mistakes where people see it on my social media or my YouTube and they fuck it up and it makes me look stupid? Yes. You know what I do? I apologize and move on. Have I had people on my team fuck up and it pisses off clients? Not in a long time, but it's happened. You apologize.
I recently pissed off one of your clients. I mean, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. The greatest genius of all time.
Let's not talk about that. But yes, okay,
but
great.
you know what I mean? It does happen in every organization, even with really good relationships. And when you're really on the same page, there are going to be blips, and you deal with it.
You apologize and move forward, and it's fine. It doesn't.
You deal with it.
Well, it might cost me $3,000. All right, cost you $3,000. Who cares? Move on. Who gives a shit?
In the grand scheme of things,
that's part of doing this. It's a cost of doing business. It doesn't fucking matter. You just relax about it. And if it makes your blog look stupid for 2 or 3 days, your blog looks stupid for 2 or 3 days. That's why I teach my other channel, Outcome Independence. Take a big fucking breath and relax. It doesn't matter. No one cares.
Not only do they not care, but you can actually use those mistakes as conversation starters.
That's true. Yeah.
You can leverage those to be a benefit, guys. But we have to let go of the fear and allow ourselves to do that.
Yeah. All right. 1 or 2 more questions. Is it true that work done in Paraguay through an LLC is not considered foreign income and thus taxable in Paraguay? That is not true if it's an LLC in another country. So if it's in Paraguay, I don't think Paraguay has LLCs. But if it's another country, though, that is not true. No. From what I understand, getting the RUC is mandatory if you cut ties from Canada. Now, that's a different issue. How Canada treats that shit is very complicated if you're a Canadian. I understand. But Paraguay, no. The Paraguayan government does not give a fuck about any income that comes in from outside of Paraguay. It doesn't matter what the entity is. They don't make, are you kidding? Paraguay? Why would they even make that distinction in Paraguay? The answer is a big no. Someone gave you incorrect information. But in terms of how Canada, the Canadian government manages that stuff, cutting ties and shit like that, that's a whole different, that's a huge can of worms. And I can't even address that because that's specific to Canada. And you're right, it's a fucking nightmare. Get the fuck out of Canada. You people live in Canada still.
Okay. So Nick has clarified that question. He means that the LLC work is done on the ground in Paraguay remotely. Are you selling to a Paraguayan audience? Are your clients Paraguayans?
The answer is still no.
Right. So if your company is registered in Paraguay and you are selling to Paraguayans only, then that's taxable. If you are living in Paraguay and you are selling your services outside of the country, then no, they don't care.
So let's be really specific. If you have an LLC in the United States, okay, as an example, and you sell to people in the UK, as an example, and you live in Paraguay and you work on your LLC in the United States selling people in UK, you will pay 0 taxes in Paraguay, period. Period. End of story. You will pay. They don't care. And even if Paraguay cared, how would they enforce it? But they don't care. They don't care. And they wouldn't even Paraguay's not that kind of country that would make that kind of nitpicky distinction. Paraguay's not the fucking United States, the collapsing USA or cuckoo Canada or suicidal Europe. They don't have that kind of authority or power. They don't care. They just don't give a shit. Billie is right. If you start a business in Paraguay and you're selling to Paraguayans, now you're going to pay the tax. And you're going to pay a corporate tax of, get ready, 10%. Oh, no, 10%. It's one of the lowest corporate taxes in the world. Matter of fact, only corporate tax lower in the world is Dubai. Paraguay is the second lowest corporate tax, I think, in the planet Earth. So, shit.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So, even for
an RUC, that's a Canadian question, not a Paraguay question. That's a Canadian question. Can't answer that question.
And I'm afraid I can't either, not being Canadian.
Yeah, and Canada's a nightmare. So, yeah. How do I just get the Travel Ace upgrades? You can't. This is exclusive to this program only. Sorry. You recommended Westerners to start a location-independent business, leave the Western world, move to another country. Yes, that is exactly what I recommend. What would you recommend to someone born and raised outside the Western world? I've addressed this. It depends on what country you're from. If you were born and raised in a complete shithole country in, the worst parts of Africa or the worst parts of Central America, then you should break the laws and go in the United States and go on welfare and get a bunch of free shit from these socialist governments that are collapsing. That's a less bad life for you.
So
now,
come on.
We'll finish my thing really quick and then you can answer. If you come from Singapore, if you come from a first world non-Western country, You should stay out of the West. Stay out of the West. Stay out. You can sell to Westerners if you want, if you're careful, but stay out. Don't go. You could visit. Go visit the United States. Get your visa and visit, and then get back to Singapore. So that's my answer. Go ahead, Billie.
So my answer is totally different. That whole fallacy of like people moving into the US and getting welfare is a bunch of complete bullshit, especially right now where people who have visas and residency and green cards can't even get back into the country after visits. Do not come to the collapsing United States, for fuck's sake. You're an idiot if you even think about it. If you are living in another country outside of the Western world, sell to the Western world. You're in a great situation. And if you'd like to move out of your country and go somewhere else, anywhere else, do that. But you already have the benefit of not living in the expensive and collapsing Western world. So I would love to do that to my advantage.
Yeah, if you are in Honduras or even Paraguay or Colombia or places like that, or Cambodia, the beauty of where you are is your cost of living is super cheap compared to what Americans and other collapsing Westerners will pay you. So it's called, again, geo arbitrage. Start a business online selling to people in New York, Los Angeles, London, places where people are used to paying exorbitant prices. Get one or two little for America clients, and now you live like a king in your shithole country. Now, if you hate your shithole country, then leave. It's fine. But yes, Billie's right. Correct.
That's what our Pakistani friends are doing. They live like ballers. They're 25-year-old guys making what's on a very low-end Western income.
Exactly. That is exactly right.
Are the stud muffins of that region.
Right. Boy, do you kick ass in Pakistan or places like Pakistan when you sell to Westerners. It's beautiful. And I originally saw this back in the Tim Ferriss days, like in the early mid-2000s, where Americans would move from Los Angeles to like Chiang Mai, Thailand, but keep selling stuff to people in Los Angeles. And they lived like monster kings because they had super cheap cost of living and they were selling to Americans. So that's what you do. All right, one or two more questions. Two more questions. When hiring subcontractors, how do you find the right balance of affordability and quality work? Billie, that's a Billie question.
For me, I'm really good at hiring people. I don't know. It's like a secret magic power that I have. But to find the right balance of affordability and quality, you ask for samples. This is why we use platforms like Upwork. It's the biggest platform in the world. It has ratings. It tells you what people's job success score was, how many different jobs or projects they've taken on, roughly how much they've gotten paid from each of those jobs, what their feedback scores are. They'll have a portfolio uploaded. So I look at that information, and usually my strategy is to hire 2 or 3 people for the same job and just kind of see how it shakes out, because we know it's very unlikely that the first person you hire or date or have any interaction with is a person that you're going to be with long term. So knowing that, I will test 2 different people in that role, and whoever does better keeps it. Or if one of them falls off the map, great. I don't have to start over from zero because there's already someone there. But it's a matter of testing, learning, and repeating. That's all it is. And the beauty of these platforms is you don't have to go through a long termination process, right? You can say, hey, dude, this isn't working out. I'm going to pay you out on what I owe you. Peace be with you. And then you shut off their access to all of your, all of your accounts and your passwords. It can be done so fast, so easy. And it's intended to be transactional. People don't expect to be with you forever. They're not building, a relationship like they were in the 50s, 60s, 80s, 90s, where they're going to stay in this company for the rest of their lives. This is a transactional platform. So it's completely acceptable for contracts to start and stop abruptly and for things to happen very quickly.
Last question, and we will vamonos. What is the foreign income tax rate in Uruguay? 0%, because just like Paraguay, Uruguay is a territorial tax country. So if you live in Uruguay, you will pay no taxes. You can make $10 million a year from foreign sources, and you will pay 0%. Now, the residency rules are different than in Uruguay than Paraguay. They're more strict. You have to stay there longer. You can't just go get residency in Uruguay without living there. So, but if you want to live in Uruguay, which is a great place to live, I would say Uruguay is probably the number one right now, best place in terms of overall lifestyle to live in the Latin world. You could challenge that maybe a little bit, maybe Medellin or something like that. But Uruguay is the shit. It's awesome, but it is territorial tax. That's why guys like Doug Casey moved down there, because they don't want to pay taxes on their income, and you won't pay either. So it's the same exact deal. So
Here's the caveat with that. Is not only is the residency different, a friend of mine literally just got his residency in Uruguay about 3 weeks ago. You have to plan to be there for between 9 and 18 months.
Correct.
Without leaving the country. They literally don't want you to leave the country. Any lawyer
wait. When qualifying for residency, you mean?
When qualifying for residency, correct.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
during the entire time, other countries will process this. Paraguay does it in a few weeks. Uruguay is saying it could be a year and a half. Just plan to live here and plan not to leave the country unless there's an emergency. We don't want to see you coming and going. We want you to demonstrate that you are going to have a life here in Uruguay. And that's why that's why I personally am not leading trips to Uruguay, because that commitment for most people doesn't work. But if it does work for you, it's a great option and it is lovely.
Uruguay is a great living flag. You cannot use Uruguay as a backup flag. So in Caleb parlance, that's how that works. Uruguay is a fantastic living flag. Go down there and check it out. If you like it, it's awesome. You can go live there and you'll be very, very happy, but you can't use it as an international backup plan like you can with Mexico, Paraguay, Armenia, Dubai, and Panama, and some other countries. You have to actually plan to live there. So you can visit there, see if you like it. Go there maybe a few times in different times of the year, and then move there. And then once you're planted there, you apply for residency, you'll get it. Cool. 0%. I ever heard there's a 10 years limit or something. No, that's Portugal, not Uruguay. No.
And if you have specific questions like that about the foreign income tax rates in different countries, the different residency requirements, that's really the time to use like Grok 3, use these deep search tools and do a little bit of research, because these things are always changing. We are not offering legal advice here. So either talk to an attorney, get a tax attorney in these countries, or do your research online, because what we're giving you is simply the guideline to the best of our current knowledge.
And Nick D, again, none of this is relevant unless you want to move there and live there permanently. If that's your plan, great. But you can't do a Paraguay in Uruguay. You have to live there, which is fine. It just depends what your goals are. Most of you should fucking move out of the all of you should move out of the United States, in my opinion. Cool. All right. We have to go. Thank you very much, Auntie Billie.
Thanks for having us.
Bizbuilder.com, your deadline. And we always get people the day after, can we, please? And they're begging to, not every time, but almost every time we do this, we get people, I didn't know. And your deadline is Monday night, March 31st, midnight EST, to sign up, not to schedule your call.
Yes.
So go to 90daybizbuilder.com. If you're not sure about this, if you want more information, schedule a call. It is a free call. We give you advice on that call too. If whoever you're talking to is going to be a location-independent, successful business person, or else they're not allowed to do those calls. And figure it out and see if it's a fit for you. Great. If it's not, that's fine. But you want to schedule that call now so you don't miss the deadline, because you cannot sign up after that, because that's when the cohort starts a week later. Cool.
And for those of you who don't know, Auntie Billie is part of the coaching team over at the 90-Day Business Builder. So she
is the lead coach.
You get your Auntie Billie, and you get a bunch of incredible professionals from the Boss Cooperative coaching team. So there are a lot of really cool people waiting to meet you. You should definitely check us out.
It's a really cool group of people too that you'll be a part of too. We have a really good, really good group of people in terms of the people in the program, the coaches and the people in the program. You become part of it's really become a community. I wasn't planning on this, but that's what it's become. It's become this tight.
That's why you have your auntie.
Pretty much. Yeah, Billie's a big part of that. Billie's the main reason for that. Yeah. I'm not part of communities. So yeah, I didn't do that.
There are a couple of names that I saw in the comments on this particular call or this live stream that are guys that I've hung out with, like in London and in different places. So hey guys, hi nephews, good to see you. We need a few more of you.
Yep. All right, we got to go. Thank you very much. 90daybizbuilder.com. Billie, thank you very much.
Thanks, Caleb. See you guys later.
Bye, guys. Thank you.